It is time to expose my wife's TBR. Hello everyone, welcome or welcome back to A Fictional Escapist. My name is Chris, and today's video is all of Rachel's physical books that she has in the house that she has not read yet. So we often talk about how we ourselves as people on the platform, whether it be here, BookTok when that was a thing, Bookstagram, anywhere, accumulate books that we don't read. And trust me, there are a lot of them that I have purchased behind me. And I would love to say I'm doing well at clearing those out, but that would just not be the case. But what makes me feel better about this is it's just not me in the household. We now have two other people that go and buy books, except I feel like our housemate is very good at reading the books that she buys because she only buys a few. Rachel, since moving here, we have a very good bookshop called Stefan's. I keep forgetting. I'll put it down in the link below. He specializes in sci-fi, fantasy, historical fiction, and horror. And every time I go in there, I like my eyes widen. I'm so excited. He keeps the new releases in there. He loves to support the neurodivergent and the queer community. So there's a lot of those books in there as well. And I always find a few. But so does Rachel. Now, Rachel is an editor by trade, which means she doesn't often read for fun, but she has accumulated some books that she'd like to read one day. And we're going to go through them today. So there's quite an array of different books here. I've got piles of books either side of me that will show. We've got some more serious books, some more whimsical books, and some books that she just bought for the covers. So this is Rachel's TBR, at least physical TBR, that's in the house right now. The first one that we have, and probably the oldest one on this list, I think, is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. This one's also on my TBR, but I'm totally claiming it as hers because she bought it. So this one is, I believe, a romantic historical fantasy. No, it's not fantasy, just romantic historical fiction. I don't know much more outside of that, except it is about, Achilles. So this one has come for a couple of houses. I think it was in maybe the first house that we lived together, if not the second. So that is there, and it's been there for a while. Likewise has also been here for a while, and I think I bought this one for her, is Troy by Stephen Fry. So if you don't know, Rachel is a bit of a history buff. Her first thesis, what was your first thesis on? Her first thesis, I've just checked, was on gladiators and social history. I read it to impress her. It was impressive, it was fun, but she has a lot of these books about that time period in the house, so most of which she's read, but that one she has not. Moving on to gaming, so we have a couple of franchises here that she has enjoyed very much and would be interested in reading something from that universe, starting with Death Stranding. So this one she played when I had top surgery, and we were both working for a courier company at the time, and we had time off because I needed 4 weeks to recover. And then she started playing this game, which is about a glorified courier, and that was very funny for that time. So that has been on there for a while. I don't think it was long after playing the game that she got that one, and it remains unread. I can't talk again. I have so many unread books behind me. Next up, Assassin's Creed. So we have Desert Oath. So they're both Origins. No, Assassin's Creed Origins. Oranges. Assassin's Creed Origins Desert Oath by Oliver Bowden, and also Assassin's Creed Odyssey by Gordon Dougherty. I have watched her play both of these games. I have not watched her read either of these books. Then we have a couple of classics over here. There's another classic in this pile, but it is too far away for the time being. So we have Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. I also want to read this one at some point. I know very little about this, except there was an adaptation. There's been a few adaptations of it. I'll get to it one day. So will Rachel. Oh, hang on, we have an update. Rachel has read Little Women. This one is off the list. Now it's just on my TBR, which is upsetting for me. Next up, we have Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy, also one on my TBR. I said we should read this one together and take 12 months because it's a beast. Who's read Anna Karenina? Just in the comments below, let me know because that is a chunky old book. Some more historical fiction that we have. We have The Women of Troy and The Silence of the Girls. I'm not sure which one is first. I believe It is A Silence of the Girls, don't quote me on that. And we also have The Women of Troy, and there is a third book out, but she is waiting for these to be in the same size because whilst I don't have any qualms about books being different sizes, Rachel does. So these are there. I'll probably read these at some point as well. I've been enjoying historical fiction recently. This is a more recent purchase. I think this may have been the most recent purchase that we went to the bookshop for, and this is A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross. I know nothing about this, but it is a pretty cover. I really like these flowers and the gold foiling. That's very pleasing. So I'm not sure what caught Rachel's eye with this one, but here it is. And it is on the TBR. It came from Rachel's TBR shelf out in the living room. Next up, we have Notorious Sorcerer and Shadow Baron. This is by Davina Evans, and these are really cool covers. I remember when this one was making the rounds on BookTube. It was a couple of years ago, maybe a year and a half ago. Time frame, I don't know. What is time? You get older and it just hits different. But these two are on there. This was one of our first visits. So the first visit I went to that bookshop, I dropped about $250 to $300 back when we had two disposable incomes. And I'm pretty sure those came from that particular trip. So they are on the list. I've heard very good things about at least the first book. I don't hear a lot of people talk about the second book, but cool covers. Then we have a series that I recently has been hyped up for me more, and this is The City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. So I'm hearing political fantasy with a cool magic system, and that's really all I need to put me in a yes, that's on the TBR basket. So we have book one. I believe Rachel was more sensible about not getting the whole series. Don't quote me on that. We have book one, so at some point, one of us will read it. Next up, we have Daggerspell. This is by Catherine Kerr. I don't know a lot about this series. I have heard people sort of mention it in passing before. I believe this is quite a long-running series, so correct me if I'm wrong, but if anyone has read this, wants to tell me what it's about, please let me know, because I have no idea. But it is a pretty cover. I believe there's a new covers as well. New relative, again, because what is time? Hey, there's one on here that I have read. This is Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. I listened to this one last year, and Rachel picked it up. I'm not sure when she picked it up, but at some point, I thought it was pretty cool. Rachel currently doesn't have her headphones on, and she's behind me, so in the room there, so I can't talk too much about it because I want to give spoilers away for someone who hasn't read it. But I approve of Piranesi. Next up, we have The Courting of Bristol Keats by Mary E. Pearson. The New Queen of Fairy by Stephanie Garber. I thought it was going to be Stephanie Meyer for a second. I was like, oh, that's why we bought it. Again, very pretty cover. Maybe this was in the most recent book purchasing expedition as well. I'm unsure. This one's very pretty. Never make a deal with the Fae. Ain't that the truth? I don't know. I've never met a Fae. Be cool if I did, though. Then we have The Alchemist. This one has been on here for a long time. It's by Paulo Coelho. I butchered that. The Australian accent doesn't allow for good pronunciations of literally anything. This is one that I would like to read. I asked to borrow, and Rachel said maybe. So maybe one day I will also get to read it. But this has been on the TBR for a little while as well. Next one we have is The Spell Shop. This is by Sarah Beth Durst. I believe this is cozy fantasy. I want to say sapphic cozy fantasy, if my memory is correct, only because my housemate was also interested in the book, and that tends to be what she reads. Well, just sapphic, literally anything. Not to expose the housemate. Sorry, Jim. But this is a very pretty book. Again, it says a faraway island, a secret spell shop, an unexpected romance. Isn't that delightful? I don't read cozy fantasy, personally, very much. I don't know if it's delightful. Someone tell me. Next one we have is The Unwilling by Kelly Bruffett. Erin Morganson. I've got to read Erin Morganson. Just a little endorsement there. Know nothing about this one. Actually, I read the back of this one and it does sound good. Judah is a foundling born with a special gift and raised inside Highfall Castle along with Gavin, the son and heir to Lord Elban's vast empire. Judah and Gavin share an unnatural bond that might be the key to her survival or her undoing. I haven't read the rest of the blurbs and I'm not going to, so we're going to stop there. But I remember reading the back of this one and it sounded really good. Apparently, it sounded good to Rachel, as it was purchased and put on the shelves. And the last two that I want to bring up, she actually has read book one, but I don't hear many people talk about it, so I will show the first book, and this is Monstrous Heart by Claire McKenna. She read this one, I believe, on our honeymoon. Is that right? But I think so. We had like a fake honeymoon because it was COVID, and where we were going to go, we couldn't cross the border. Like it closed the day before we were meant to go. So we had like a fake honeymoon. We booked somewhere local, and yeah, this is the last book that I think I remember Rachel physically reading that wasn't for work. She has read books for work that she hasn't been paid for, like series to catch up on before she's edited it. But I think this is the last one that she's actually read for fun. But we do have book two as well, which is called Deepwater King. I do remember that she binged this one. She had a really good time with it. I have no idea what it's about. But it does look underwatery. This one also looks underwatery. There's some bony hands. Anyway, those are all the books on Rachel's physical TBR, at least that we could find in the immediate vicinity. There's probably more. She's also got shelves on in her office there. I know there's some manga on there that she wants to get to. There's probably books on the shelves behind me that she wants to get to as well at some point. We bonded over reading when we first got together, so I thought it'd be fun to show some of the books that she's interested in reading at some point in her lifetime. If you like the content, give one of those. If you want to see more of it, click subscribe at your will, and I will catch you in the next video. Ciao.